Hey everybody, welcome back for another one of my developer log doohickey things. Maybe I should come up with a cool name instead of generic devlog. Give me suggestions. Now. Oh yeah, it's not streaming. This is a video that I recorded and posted later. So that's what I do. One of these days I'll try streaming and I'll branch into it, but it's different and strange and scary, and I don't do those kind of things. So let's just keep up the normal stuff. So first, I wanted to talk about Bad Caterpillar sales. I'm not gonna throw out hard numbers. We released a Steam release a month ago, actually, a month ago today. So um, feedback has been great. Sales have been kind of about where they've always been for Steam stuff. It's outsold Volcaya so far. It's probably gonna surpass Abduction Action and Hypership, and I suspect down the road it'll end up being my top selling game. Although it's gonna take a little while to get there, but it seems like it's selling better still and more consistent. It's not that far behind those other games in terms of total sales. Um, the one the one thing that maybe I should have done differently is I sold it for $1, and I don't know. I did that mainly because it's I think there's a lot of replayability, but it's kind of a small game. It's randomly generated levels. There's some different colors, some different enemies, but I mean, if you play for an hour, you've seen most of it, and unless you get really competitive on the leaderboards, which you should, because it's awesome. Um, I don't know. I don't know if you're gonna play a significant amount of time, so I didn't want to sell it for more than $1, but based on like how much people have enjoyed it and the feedback I've been getting, and people have been like, "Oh man, this is a steal!" Like I definitely would have paid more for it. I think I probably could have sold it for 2, and I think people would still be very happy with the value, and I think financially it would have been a lot better for me. Like I said, it's approaching my top selling games, but in terms of generating revenue, it's not going to be there. So that's that. Uh, the one other sort of thing on Bad Caterpillar, and I guess this kind of goes for all my games because I built them all on MonoGame. I was under the impression that they would all run on Windows XP. I don't actually have a Windows XP computer anymore, so I don't really have a way to test that. I guess I could try to find a VM or something and spin it up, but I don't know. I ran into a user saying that the game wouldn't play on Windows XP, and I started digging into it, and it looks like you need to have DirectX 11 to work with MonoGame, and you need to have at least Windows Vista to install DirectX 11. So I hated to do it, but in my searching, that's what the answer was, and I unfortunately had to tell this person like, hey, I'm really sorry. I don't think we can fix this. Ask Valve for a refund. You kind of hate doing that as a developer. It feels kind of like a cop out. But ultimately, I mean, the only way I'm going to get it to work on XP, I think, if somebody else knows differently, please tell me. But I think the only way I could get it to work on XP would be like completely rewrite it with a different engine. And that was not something that was feasible to do. So that's that. Now I thought I would show you guys a little bit of Hypership 2. I think I'm gonna try to keep the videos a lot shorter. The last couple have gone kind of long, so we're trying to shoot for more like 10-minute videos or less. So we're at 4. That'll give me a few minutes. So um, I've got these kind of like basic editors, and they're pretty similar in all my games. They save off to just some plain text file. It's not really very fancy, but it works for me, and I've been kind of building them up, and it's kind of it's kind of weird because depending on almost every game starts with the same base editor. Like no matter which of my games, if they're Hypership, Volcayos, Abduction Action, like they all started with the same base editor. But then they kind of branched and it's like I added this feature, this feature, this feature, And then sometimes I go on and I work on an old game, or like what I'm doing now, I basically Hypership 2 was I took Hypership 1's engine and started putting all the new stuff on top of that. So what I'm finding is like Volchaos has a really like cool editor, really advanced. But I did Hypership like way before I did Volchaos. So now I'm getting in here and like the editor doesn't quite have all like the bells and whistles, and I've been going back and adding some of those, and thankfully like once you add them in one editor, um, it's still a matter of pulling the code in and wiring it up and all that fun stuff, but it's a lot easier than generally figuring it out from the first time. Maybe sometime I should pull out my editors into a more generic thing that can work for everything. Um, but that would make too much sense and save me too much time in the long run, and that's not really my way. So I'll probably keep doing this and complaining about it, complaining that like, oh, this editor doesn't have XYZ feature that the other one does. So, but let me show you that, and I'll show you a little Hypership 2 while I'm at it. So I've got all the menus and all that fun stuff taken care of. At least they're more like a cleaned up version of the Hypership 1 menus. I think I might go back later and give it like a real facelift, the real Hypership 2 kind of look. But for now, I think this is pretty nice. It's pretty clean, and it'll be good enough to get the early levels done and maybe do some play testing and stuff. So I'll worry about the polish level later. So all my editors, um, if you buy my games, you can do this in them because I don't generally take it out. But most of the main menus, if you press E, it'll drop you into the editor. Depending on which game, you might not have any way to actually play the levels you make. You can kind of screw around with it if you really want to. So I always do in-game editors because then I don't have to deal with like how do I pull out this code and import it into a different project, or and actually the really nice thing, and which I don't have in this, but I have in the Volchaos editor, is the ability to just jump right into the level. So you can edit. You can jump into the level, play it, jump back to the editor, and continue editing. Is really like that's a really nice feature because you can see like, oh, well, is this in Volchaos, a lot of it was like, well, is this jump too high? Is this jump too far? Is this level too difficult? And this I think would be fun too because you could start right off at the beginning and kind of play and like, get a good feel for how the flow of everything is. These coin paths take you away that's fun. Do these blocks, is it challenging? Is it too hard? Is it stupid? That sort of thing. So this is my basic editor though. You'll see it's not really GUI driven. It's all keyboard commands, and I try to if you see like add there, it's got the parentheses around the A, so that's the command to add, remove, select. So it's pretty sort of basic. The Volchaos editor actually has some GUI elements into it, but this one is mostly that. And then it's got like you move around here, but then you can press S to toggle various levels of snap to grid. Hypership actually, the 2 blocks on the left and the 2 blocks on the right are non-playable areas, but I don't know. I did that more when I was working on the Xbox versions because of like safe zone limitations. Because I don't know if you guys are familiar with working on TV games or not. But when you work on a television, it's called a safe zone. It's sort of this like center area. Like, I wish I could point at the screen. I can't point at the, see right there on the screen. But it's this like center area. I think it's like the inner, if I remember right, it's like the inner 75% of the screen is their playable area. And if you start going outside of that, a lot of TVs cut off those edges, so then your player is, outside of where they can see, and that's that's bad. That's a bad thing. Some games like offer you the ability to actually like scale, your screen. I've seen that a few times, but what I tried to do when I did Xbox games was just like avoid um, putting stuff into that. And actually, that was one of the Xbox Live Indie Games requirements, is that if you had like important gameplay elements outside of the safe zone, you'd get your game failed. So don't do that. But there's basically three modes right now. There's the add, there's the block mode. So this is, I can add my blocks to the level. If I press spacebar, I go to the item mode. I add coins, and hitting enter on this mode toggles to all the different items. So if I want to add blue coins, if I want to add invincibility, that's the Fun Sloth. That's like our mascot. I don't know if you guys remember like Hudson. I always had a Hudson Bee. Like pretty much in every Hudson game, there's a Hudson Bee somewhere. Well, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but in all my games, somewhere, actually no, I take that back. It's not in abduction action, and probably not in nasty, like some of my older ones, but the vast majority of my games have the Fun Sloth somewhere in it. And excuse me. Oh. Anyways, it's usually worth a lot of points. Sometimes it's like an unlocked achievement, depending on anything. So that's one that I haven't updated the graphics for. So that's how it looks in the old games. So that's item mode. And then the third mode is selection mode, which is you can select blocks. In some of my other games, usually when you select a block, it colors it, but this one, it just puts this little block ID. And then from there, you can adjust the speed. See, it's got like negative 300 or 400. All the blocks in Volcanoes can be given a left or right velocity, I guess. They don't move. None of the blocks move up and down in Hypership. They all go left or right, or are stationary. And then when they hit the edge of the screen, they cycle back. Now, that's one thing that I'm probably going to change in Hypership 2. I'm going to have some that actually come down with you, and then I'm going to have some that actually like will float up with you. So, you'll either have to destroy them or avoid them, and they'll stay on the screen like as you're going around. So. Like I'm imagining like a level where there's a bunch of ships like similar to your hypership, and they'll all be flying up at like a speed that keeps them on the screen for a fair amount of time, and then as you're dodging the blocks, like they might collide with other blocks and explode, but you can't collide with them because you'll explode. And I might give them a little intelligence too, so that they'll be dodging and getting out of the way. So. I'm looking forward to getting that. I think that's going to be kind of neat if I can pull it off the way that it feels in my head or sounds in my head. But man, I'm not doing very good at showing the editor. I'm just talking. So the one sort of GUI element that I added today is there's this select block mode, and I had to add this in Volcanoes because the number of blocks were getting really big. And Volcanoes, I just did, I think it's enter. Yeah, enter. We'll cycle through all the blocks, and there's like 30 some blocks. And I think, yeah, shift goes backwards, so you can go backwards and forward. And that was okay for the original Hypership because most levels were made up of like 4 or 5 blocks. So once like, oh, I got to all these. No, I don't want sticky keys. Once I got to the yellow blocks, I really only had to go back and forth a little bit. But what you'll notice here, so I brought in all the original blocks from Hypership. That's all these. This Fun Infused one is actually, you can put it in. It's like a block, but it's actually just the one that's used on the title screen. So that's why it's in there. But these are all the new blocks. Starting after after the old style ones. And this is basically like not even one full level. So as you'll see in a single Hypership 2 level, there's more artwork than there was in the entire Hypership 1 game. So it's got a lot of. That's why I need a lot of artwork done for this game, and very likely I'm going to do a Kickstarter to try to get that because it got expensive. I have enough artwork to do like probably like 2 to 3 levels, but I want to do at minimum 10. So yeah, I got some work to do. And see what I did. I've got your basic asteroids like this, but and variations. And then I started adding like, hey, there's like a little girl laying out on not a little girl, well, a little in terms of proportionally she's small, but there's a lady laying out sunbathing. There's some like wall kind of areas like this, so you can kind of. Oh, see, that's another thing I gotta change. You can't really add near the edge very well, but it kind of keep you in that area. You can put together some of these corners. So what you can do is you got the corner there, but then you can do a couple of these together. And let's find where's the top of that. So you could do this, and you can get some different sort of shapes and sizes and like that. And let's see, there's some different sizes. And Hypership 1 had some different size asteroids too. This one just got a lot more variety of them. It's got a really big one, and then it's got a couple of variations of like smaller ones. So, and then we got these white blocks, and then you got these where you can kind of combine it into so it looks like it. I don't know if that's the right way to do that, but so it kind of looks like it's flowing out of the rocks or the asteroids or whatever. So like this is sort of the theme for the first level of Hypership 2 is going to be a lot of these. It's like a shipyard kind of thing, so there's going to be a lot of these white blocks, and then these are like docks, and you're going to see various ships just sort of parked sitting there, and they're destroyable, but they're going to be just sitting there. And then this is Lord Lad. You may know what he's sort of similar to or parodying of, but yeah, he was one of the cooler things. And I want to try to do like have in the background some kind of silly things like this. And I don't know, maybe I will put him in the game where you actually can destroy him. But my actual plan, and I don't have parallax layers in Hypership 2 right now, but my plan would probably be he'd be in the background and he'd be just kind of spinning and you'd fly over him. So let me show you what I have. So okay, that's a problem too. When I join a level, it automatically puts some things in. So this is sort of the first level. You're gonna kind of start out like you're taking off from the dock, and some point you're gonna have like there'll be a sound that says like, oh hey, your brakes are out or whatever, and now you're out of control. But basically to add stuff, all you have to do is go in your add block mode. You add whatever you want. You want a Lord Lad in here? Let's put a Lord Lad in here. Oh, we'll have 2 of them. This is gonna be crazy. Let's just make this guy move. Oh, that's not what I wanted. There's no escape, so once you enter that, okay, I want different mode. Okay, select him. Let's make him move. So that's Lord Lad. Let's add some coins. So coins. I like to make like paths and shapes and things, and chances are I'm not going to use this level. It's just something I'm screwing around with. So I mean, that's how easy it is to add coins. And I'm going to add an asteroid. Oh, we gotta get into add block mode. Let's add a huge asteroid. And this is a really horrible level, and I would not ever admit to designing this. You will probably not see this level in its entirety in the actual game. Like I said before, I don't have an actual way to play this right now. I will, or right from the editor, but that's wired up as the first level in the game. So if I exit and come back in, it'll recompile that, and it'll put that as the first level. And we can see the kind of silly level we made. Oh no, not on Steam. So I think these are the stuff that I added in before. The particles are really goofy right now. Here's our different ships. Obviously they need a different hit texture. There's Lord Lead. Yeah, but see, it looks like he's going up and down, but that's just because I'm moving. He's actually just going left and right. But I mean, that's really all it is. Oh, see, that's when they spin is actually a setting I set up with the block, so I must have forgot to make that one spin. So it's not an editor thing; it's an in-game thing. You know, but that's the gist of the game, the editor, and I'll just be adding more pieces and parallax layers and new items and all that. And I'll be in that editor a lot, like making levels and replaying them. And I kept all the old sprite sheet stuff from the original game, and chances are that I'm gonna mix in some original levels into this as well. You know, probably with some tweaks and stuff here and there. But you know, so if you've played the original, depending on what paths you take, because this is going to have branching paths, you'll be able to hit some of the old levels too. So anyways, so much for doing this in 10 minutes. It's at 22 minutes now. I'm going to get a monster high score because until I loop back around and get back to level 1, there is nothing. So anyways, thanks for listening, and subscribe, tell your friends to subscribe, tell your mother, parents to subscribe, you know, tell everyone you know, tell strangers, tell people you see on the streets, you know. Like, we need more subscribers so that it motivates me to put more of these fun videos on, because I know you guys all love these. You know, help me out. Anyways, thanks for listening. See you guys later. Bye.